Wilson.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen?
James Wilson tritt an gegen die Nummer 11 der Welt. Ein Mann, der wunderbare Erinnerungen hier an Sindelfingen hat. 2012 warf er nicht nur den neuen Data auf dieser Bühne. 2012 stand er hier im Finale und verlor es knapp gegen Adrian Lewis. Er hat in diesem Jahr alleine 3 Pro-Tour-Turniere gewinnen können und er kommt aus Stoke-on-Trent. Ian Diamond White.
Well, a couple of walk-on tunes there that have graced many a wedding disco for the penultimate game of the night here at the Happy Bet European Darts Grand Prix. It sees the Diamond, Ian White, against the jammy dodger, James Wilson, a man who has unconfined joy written across his face during his entire walk-on and then suddenly clicks into business mode. And it's pretty similar with Ian White as well. These two duking it out for a place in the final day of action here at the Glaspalast in Sindelfingen. We have already seen wins tonight for Michael van Gogh in the world #1, the #2 seed Peter Wright, Mensur Suljovic with his 108.5 average, Kim Huybrechts, Benito van der Pas and Johnny Clayton knocking out the #10 seed Jelle Klaassen with a quite frankly astonishing display of finishing for the ferret from Pontevedra. 2 more spots in the 3rd round up for grabs. Ian White or James Wilson will go through to face Raymond van Barneveld, the 5-time world champion on a mission this weekend to make it to the European Championship. And then Joe Cullen or Robbie Green duke it out in the final game of the night to face Peter Snakebite Wright. Dan Dawson in the commentary box for this one, and for the final time this evening, Paul Nicholson in the commentary box.
Ladies and gentlemen, first leg, it's James to throw first. Game on!
Well, do you think Jammy Dodger's ready? Is he?
Ready.
So ready, absolutely.
That's what I've heard. I don't really understand it, but I've heard it.
Yeah, bird was the word earlier on. Now the word is ready. Well, Jammy Dodger
60
against Devon Peterson last night was very good. He did the right things. He got through. And I'm sort of disappointed. Obviously no disrespect to James Wilson whatsoever, but I was wanting to see a rematch between Peterson and White after last week's debacle. But we have James Wilson here, who I believe is in very good form. And I've talked on a few occasions about those slap darts that come out of the board. He's had a lot less of them recently, but he does get the odd one still.
Yeah, he does. I have to say, when I was looking at all the games today, the one that stood out was undoubtedly Whitlock-Barneveld. But from the evening session, this one was the one which I found very, very difficult to try and pick a winner, because James Wilson is on the back of 3 semi-finals on the trot. And he's playing darts like that. But Ian White is #3 seed for a reason.
Yeah, Ian White has jumped in the seedings for this one, up to, I believe, his personal best seeding, #3.
James require
That's courtesy of those 3 wins this year. 3's obviously the number for Whitey today. The number is 141, treble 15. Where's he going to go now? Got options. 66 it is.
91.
Well, that's one way to go. Now he gives himself even more options when he comes back. Might just not have made his mind up, as if to say, I don't know if I want double 18, double 60, double top, I might go for the bullseye. What's he going to do? Double 16, I think we'll go for. It's pretty safe.
You'd be right to think that. Double 8, just next door. White, way back on 200.
34.
Nearly ended up busting his score there.
Oh, we just spoke to George Noble, didn't we? He's come off stage and he says it is baking up there. We'll have to get a temperature for you guys sometime tomorrow It's very hot in the commentary box.
James requires
But if George
16.
Noble is selling us that it's hot up there, it really is. Expect a few slip darts. The guys are going to have to look after those hands.
Game shown the
because
first leg. James Wilson,
as this game
second leg
progresses,
in, throw first.
doubles are going to
Game
become
on.
more important. You've got to wipe them on a pair of trousers or a towel and be comfortable and have the right amount of tack in your fingers. And if you ask a lot of players on the circuit, one of the reasons why they buy the trousers that they wear is that they're comfortable with the material that they're rubbing on. So it takes away the right amount of sweat in their fingers. That's my own interpretation of it.
Interesting stuff. I mean, George Noble literally has just come over to us and said that it is one of the hottest stages he has ever worked on. And George Noble has worked
16.
on some hot stages, let me tell you that. It was 45 degrees last time out on the European Tour in Mulheim. Today, it has just got hotter and hotter and hotter. And really stuffy in here as well. It is not great conditions for these guys to be up there. And I know, look, you know, these guys don't hang around. They're not going to be up there for ages and ages. But as you say, it does have an effect. Just a little bit of moisture on the fingers, the odd loose
62.
dart. And we know in tight games, as we've seen, you know, Raymond van Barneveld is only here by the skin of his teeth, having taken out a 1-4-1. Now, just a slight slip on any of those three darts in the final visit of that match, and Raymond van Barneveld might not be here, and he might not be going to the, well, in with a chance of going to the European Championship. And Jamie Dodger can't even keep hold of his flight.
Well, when it gets hotter, things fly in the air faster. I'm not sure if all of the dart players are aware of that. I know Peter Wright is because of his whole atmospherics stuff that he's been talking about. But we have to mention that this arena isn't small. It's got quite a high ceiling, and it's still hot in here. Imagine if this place had a lower ceiling
You require 100
and was a little bit squidgier.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of space around the outside as well. As Ian White looks at the 1-4-3, he's not going to take that out, and Wilson's got the 1-4-1.
87.
87 scored,
James
so he's going to get two darts at tops when he
141.
returns, unless Wilson takes this out. And that's not going to happen. But yeah, it is a big crowd here, obviously. And a ridiculous number of people who come for the afternoon session
You require
have just decided to stay.
56.
So good was the afternoon session, they thought, yeah, I'll have a bit more than that for tonight.
And
Top
why
three
not?
and White. Good guy.
36.
Doesn't use it.
Now, where's
And
James Wilson going to go
require
now?
41.
Options again, 1 for tops, 5 for double 18. More than likely going to be 9 for double 16, and it is. Double 16, and it'll be 2-0 up. He is
Game
2-0 up.
shown the second leg.
Jamie Dodger
James
was
Wilson.
ready
Third leg, James
to
to
start
throw
this
first.
match. Now,
Game
is he
on.
ready to kick forward? Because that was a very valuable break.
Yeah, and Ian White, 7 PDC titles to his name. The man who has been, I've said this before, you know, he's ranked number,
100.
I think he may be number 12, but I think he might have just been moved out by Mensur Suljovic, actually. But he's there or thereabouts, and he did get into the top 10. But he's done that without going past the quarter-final stage of any major tournament. That's when the really big money, that's, you know, those, you know, have one big run at a tournament, you go and win, want to make a final, then you're, yeah, does the ranking world of good.
And
But he's
that's the
not done that.
difference between an Ian White and a Robert Thornton.
Exactly.
You know, he won the Grand Prix, he's won the UK Open. Those types of ranking points have vaulted him into the top 4 at one point. And Ian White desperately craves that one performance on TV in a big event to just kick him forward and get himself deep inside that top 10.
But so consistent has he been on the floor tournaments, and indeed, you know, he's usually in there or thereabouts, last 16, last 8 in the big tournament. But so consistent has he been on the floor tournaments that he has been able to work his way up the rankings, and it is a very, very tough competitor to come up against. But James Wilson actually leads the head-to-head.
100.
He's won 2 of their 3 meetings.
I get the feeling these guys are going to play a lot of each other in the next few years.
Could well do. Yeah, I think James Wilson.
Game shot in
Too
the
good.
third
It's a
leg.
12-darter for
James
Wilson.
Wilson.
And Ian White
Full play
already.
to throw first.
This looks like a must-win leg. He cannot afford to go 2 breaks down.
No, we can't. And we're going back to what you were saying about the rankings.
60.
One of my favourite stories about the rankings was that a few years ago, Phil Taylor was world #1 by a mile because of the amount of money that he'd earned. It's the world order of merit is based on money. Someone did a calculation and said, well, what if we went back to the old points system about, you know, winning tournaments and picking up ranking points for semi-finals and quarters and things? Who would be the world #1 if we did it that way? It was Wesley Newton.
100.
Oh, wow.
So if it hadn't been for the money system, Wesley Newton would have been a world #1.
Wes Newton, two-time major finalist. European Championship finalist, of course, Wes Newton.
100.
Not here this weekend, won't be in Belgium either, Wes. A few names that won't be there. A few new ones will be, and
100.
Ian White will certainly be there, obviously. I mean, he's been a regular fixture on the European Tour, and of course, that run that he had in Gibraltar to the semi-final.
130.
What's your take on the change of ranking system for the Europeans this year? Do you think it's the right thing to do,
Well,
basing it on the European Tour?
Well, I think we know why they've done it. They've done it to make sure that the guys take the European Tour seriously.
125.
They don't want to hold
James
10 events in the year
170.
and not have Phil Taylor turn up to any, as happened last year.
I think they did it exactly right. I think it puts emphasis on European Championship being from European events. And obviously,
90.
the floor events that we have in England are
You require
still in Europe,
116.
but the European Tour culmination is done in the right way. I think it's perfect.
Well, there is. We'll pick up on that point in just a moment, because this is a really, really
76.
important part of the game. We said that Ian
James
White may not be able to
requires
afford to go
72.
4-0 down with 2 breaks of throw to James Wilson, and that may be about to happen. 52 left.
Got to go 12. He doesn't want to hit that flight.
Gets the 12, double top.
32.
Oh, big dart that was.
Ian,
And he's
you
gone
require
high by quite
40.
some distance. Ian White, this has to go, though. It has to go, Ian. And it
Game
does
shown,
go.
the full flag.
And it's 3-1.
Ian White.
Ian White just has something to
Fifth
work
leg,
with
James
now,
to
but
throw
he had
first.
to dodge a
Game
bullet
on.
there. He could have found himself 4-0 down. But just to pick up on your point there, now there is something satisfying and almost sensible where you've got the UK Open qualifiers. They decide how you get to the UK Open finals. You've got the European Tour events, and they decide how you get to the European Championship. And then you've got the Players' Championship events, which decide how you get to the Players' Championship finals. Now, it seems a very simple system. You've got 3 simultaneous parallel systems, if you like. There's none of this, oh, well, I did all right in the UK Open qualifiers, that'll help me out getting into one of them. Or it's not, you know, it just means that you've got sort of 3 separate tours running alongside each other. Admittedly, the UK Open qualifiers only happen at the start of the year, 6 events, and that's that.
140.
But it's very, very simple to get your head around them. And as a fan, I think it, you know, having something that is easy for people who are perhaps new to the game to understand, European Championship, the European Tour events. Easy enough.
It's
And-
taken away a lot of arguments at the pubs with people saying, well, he played there and didn't qualify for that. It's very black and white.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a smartphone. It's very easy to understand.
177.
Well, James Wilson, it's very easy to understand how much that was. 3 huge trebles, puts him in huge control
Yeah.
in this leg. And a big sigh from Ian White as if to say, come on, let's do the same. Well, a treble 20 is what he wants.
Not
the end of the world.
31.
Yeah, well, he
James
has left to
require
finish, but
84.
James Wilson on an 11 darter here. He's already fired in a 12 darter. That was to go 3-0 up. Oh, well, 3 scored, so treble 15 for double 18, I would imagine. Not having much luck on the treble 15, it has to be said.
68.
Ball's nice, though.
You require
Not bad at all.
170.
We haven't seen one of these in a while. Well, we see one now. This would get him back in the match
Well,
in style.
could be a game changer. Could be a game changer. Bullseye! 170 checkout for Ian White. He needed it. He got it. First one we've seen this weekend. Struggling to remember the last one we saw on the European Tour, but it may well be the visit that gets Ian White back into this game. He survived the dart for 4-0. And James Wilson would have quite fancied his chances of making it 4-1 there, but all of a sudden, 170 check out. Ian White, the number 3 seed, right back in this one.
96.
Well, talk about a catalyst. Now he's got to find a way of regulating the adrenaline that he got from that. I think 96 was a good visit. After that fist pump, you don't usually see a lot of celebrations from Ian White, but that one deserved one. Great shot, under pressure, needed it, and got it.
Oh, is it just going to kick him into life? We've said it before that Ian White, you know, he's a consistent player. You know what you're going to get from him. You expect him to be averaging between 95 and 100, hitting a fair proportion of his darts at doubles. And look what he's doing. He's averaging 98. Just so happens
54.
that James Wilson is averaging just over 98 himself and has played excellently. But at 170 checkout, it's just, you know, just one visit, one big visit like that can change the course of games.
It instills belief in you as well that when the chips are down and you have the toughest of shots, I mean, arguably 170 is not as easy or not as hard as 167.
I
140.
always think the 161's a tricky one.
It's got to be 3 separate targets to be difficult because with a 170 you can rely on hitting the first one and having a really kind deflection, whereas with 161, 167, those kinds of shots, you have to have 3 different parts of the board to hit. And things like 131, if you go 60, treble 13, double 16, I think that's one of the most difficult shots. That's one of the reasons why people now tend to go for treble 17 and 2 double tops. At least they've got an opportunity to put 2 together at the second chance of asking after you've hit the treble.
39.
Yeah, Rod Harrington will tell you he was the first one to do the older 125 treble 15 tops. Without the match
Rod would never say anything like that, would he?
He's not here, so I've got to
77.
I've got to promote Harrington.
Well, one of my favourite finishes of all time was a 134. Gary Anderson versus Phil Taylor at the Grand Slam a few years ago now. 54 tops. And I guarantee you this, that both tops were about an inch apart.
It's not even put them together.
Yeah, it was just like Frankenstein's plugs. They would so evenly put. It was like 3/3 of sections in that tops.
Big dart this for 3-3. And he gets it. And Ian White has clawed his way back to parity here.
Game on.
Yeah, 3-3 it is. It's been a game of 2 halves so far. What are we looking at in the next phase of the game?
140.
This is boiling up to something we're not really sure where it's going to go now.
You know what? I mean, I said at the start of it that I found this one perhaps the toughest to call in terms of who was going to win it. When James Wilson had a dart for 4-0, had he taken it, I think there would only be one winner. But he didn't, and he didn't manage to go 4-1 up either. And Ian White has clawed his way back to 3 apiece. And, well, I'll tell you what, it is anybody's game. But it's not as if Wilson's level has dropped massively. I mean, he's still averaging 100 right now, or just over. He's still hitting 50% of his darts at double.
Yeah, Ian White's definitely lifted his game the last 3 or 4 legs, that's for certain. That last visit from James Wilson, very impressed. The first dart was in the bottom right-hand corner of that 60. If he'd have gone for that dart to try and put it together, it would have slapped out. So he's moved over for the third one and hit a beautiful clean 60. Shows skill, and that's what he didn't want to happen.
I'm struggling to see sometimes why that happens. It does happen. It doesn't happen as much as it did earlier in the season for James Wilson. But it doesn't look like... I mean, his darts go in relatively straight. He throws them quite forcefully.
Maybe we need a slow-mo
Well,
to have a look at it.
I mean, he does have quite a large flight.
41.
And there's an opportunity to clip off it and take some of the power out. But he throws them so solidly. Again, he can't find the treble 15.
Well, what's more, he's left the double again. Now, Ian White has already hit a bullseye in this match on the biggest shot of them all. Will he be looking at the bullseye again? Treble 17 will give him that bullseye. But James Wilson is going to come back for double 8. It's been a quality leg from both guys here.
James requires 16.
Well, he won the first 3 legs, James Wilson. Ian White won the next 3. Wilson to stop the rot. Sliding alongside that. A little shuffle across the hockey. Oh, I'll tell you what, that is expertly used.
James Wilson,
Expertly used. Couldn't quite see it from the camera angle, but really was inviting away those flights were just there as a little funnel to follow it down. In the end, he didn't use it that much, but you could see it just nestled right in next to that dart.
That's knowing how your darts behave. That little move to the right gave him a little bit more room in the double 8 just to hit it off the right side of the barrel. And that's pretty good use of darts as well. A peach of a 180 from Ian White.
Yeah, that's
Picture
his first
perfect.
one. Yeah, first one, 3 in the match in total, the other 2 for James Wilson, but we have a very, very tight contest here. And 101 average plays 98 average, 98 for Ian White. And it might be going up.
We've said for a while we haven't seen a 9-dart leg.
Oh, don't say that, Paul.
I was going to say that we've seen the 170 and we've got that out of our system.
Wow.
Maybe it would be the same hero that could do them both.
Well, it would be some effort. Throw a 9-dart around a 170 in a game and still potentially lose it.
Been there, done that, my friend. I threw the 170. Kim Hybrex threw the 9-darter. I lost the game, he won it. That was a great game.
I've had some entertaining battles with Mr. Hybrex in the past, as I recall.
You don't see it. Sure it won't be the last. At least I hope it's not the last. I might just dug my own grave there.
Well, Kim Hybrex will certainly see him tomorrow. He was a 6-0 winner against Martin Schindler, ending the interest for the German players in the tournament. But more importantly, right now, Ian White is looking at 98. And he won't be that disconsolate if he misses the treble 20, because it means he can have a go at the treble 18. Oh, dear.
Treble 19 now. That fixes it.
78.
That's sorry, because James Wilson is not on a finish. So what he wanted at the very least there is just to leave a double that he's comfortable with. Come back, close your eyes, deep breath, go up, visualize the double 10, hit it. Let's get into leg 9.
134.
Well, that's the plan.
Required
Wilson
26.
is waiting to pounce. Can't afford to mess this opportunity up. Oh, that's no help to him.
No score.
That could
You
be big, you know, Dan.
James
That could be very big.
67.
If that second dart had been where the third dart was, you could see him moving closer and he might have had a bit more of a guide, but he didn't have any help with those first 2 darts, and Wilson's going to get 2 darts for 5-3. And he only needs the one. It's a 14-darter for James Wilson. Back-to-back 14-darters. And more importantly, it's a break of throw. Wilson has the throw in 2 of the remaining 3 legs, all of which Ian White must win to stay in the tournament.
It's the man in red who's in control now. Just looks like someone who so focused. You don't really get a lot from James Wilson. I was saying last night, when he hit a very important shot, his celebration was saying, yep. And that's all you get from the guy from Yorkshire. No nonsense darts.
Yeah, I mean, look, he bounces around at the start. If he wins, I'm 99% sure he'll bounce around at the end. But in the middle, it's just focus.
60.
That sounds like a jammy dodger. Crunchy on the outside, crunchy on the outside. In the middle, it's a bit squidgy.
Oh. I mean, it's an interpretation.
It's the first thing I thought of.
Oh. Maybe it is a good nickname after all. I've been labouring under the misapprehension that it is one of the slightly less good nicknames in darts. Man's named after a biscuit, for crying out loud.
Well, I'd rather be a jammy dodger than a dime bar. Because then we've got to start talking about armadillos.
Well, we're not going to do that. It's too late in the evening to start going down that route.
It's getting hot in here. We're starting to talk about armadillos.
Ian White, right up against it here. The problem, well, 305, even if he's at ton 40 there, he doesn't leave a finish. It's not very often that you see Ian White not think about that.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for going for the 15s or the 25. Take the 5 off. Give yourself the opportunity to hit the 260s and give yourself a chance at a finish. And a lot of players do favour that. Maybe Ian White's just thinking, you know what, I want 3 treble 20s. Here, it hasn't really done him any harm, but now he needs 60s. What a shot that is. That is a great, great shot. That's like hitting a free kick in a top left corner with a wall.
Top bin. Top bin. But if James Wilson can put a dent in this, and he's going to put some form of a dent in it. Oh, what a great dart that is. What a great dart that is. Now, Ian White to stay alive potentially.
Now he goes to the 19s. That leaves 48. Double 16 to stay alive.
73.
Well, he's still alive, but it's dependent now on Jammy Dodger
70.
missing this 70. And that little red arrow that says 70 left, he's already hit 2 treble 18s. He might stay there. Now it's 20. The double 16, and he will be through to the next round if he hits it. And he is through. Ian White, the number 3 seed, has been eliminated.
He is the highest ranked player this weekend to be knocked out of the tournament. Ian White beaten 6-3 by the Jammy Dodger James Wilson. The Diamond not happy. I'm not sure if he's pointing out somebody in the crowd who was calling out. I didn't hear anything during that match. It's very rare that Ian White will take issue with anything that's gone on in a game, but James Wilson take nothing away from him. That was a high quality match from both men. 99.99 average for James Wilson, just shy of that magical 100 mark, but he will not care. He's just knocked out the number 3 seed Ian White. He will take on the 5-time world champion Raymond van Barneveld in the 3rd round tomorrow. We're going to find out the final person through to round 3 in a moment as Joe Cullen faces Robbie Green.
Against the number 11 of the world. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I know Ian very, very well, and I knew coming tonight I had to play my game. I haven't been that well, actually, to be fair. Been a bit poorly, but I just came up and give it my all, and I got there, and I got it, and so ready.
So it's just keeping this level, keeping the standard. The next success will come. I'm sure you're looking for the next step to win a tournament.
Yeah, I'm just so ready to win a tournament. I can't wait. I'm looking forward, to playing tomorrow again. I'm keeping progressing and I'm getting better and better. And, the crowd, fantastic. Love you all. Thank you.
I think Barney is rating, right?
Yeah, Barney's rating. Another one.
Another big one, yeah.
Another big player. Well, you've got to play him. You've got to beat him to progress. And if you don't, then you don't progress.
So let's see tomorrow. Thank you very much. James Wilson. Er sagt